But it is time to hit social media for cash tags. For that, we'd like to welcome in Andy Swan, the co-founder of LikeFolio.com, and we have Evelyn Baker here in studio with us as well to talk some auto sales.
Right, so as we see these motor vehicle sales continue to come out today, these
and it's a different thing, isn't it? They kind of creep out all day, and you got to kind of collect them into a pile.
Right, it's kind of fun. It sort of extends a big economic data point for the day, and I mean, we've been following it all day long, so we did see some more recent numbers come out of a few different automakers like Nissan, Honda, and Mazda, following up on Toyota's really strong report. Of course, we saw that Toyota made new record sales for November, and then Honda followed up and also posted record November sales. Their sales in the US were up 11%. Mazda reported sales were up 18%. However, Nissan saw US sales for November down 15.9%. So there was some weakness there from Nissan. But Andy, I know that you have your eyes set on some of these automakers, and I'm wondering what you're keyed into with this conversation.
Yeah, no surprise on strong auto sales for us at LikeFolio. We're looking for mentions that indicate someone is purchasing a car, getting a loan on a car, things like that, and we call those purchase intent mentions. And so here's a chart of those for four major automakers, Toyota, GM, Honda, and Ford. And you can see all of these at or near all-time highs in terms of our data, in terms of purchase intent. So consumer demand very high for these cars. We see Toyota especially outperforming to the upside, as well as Ford on a percentage gain basis, and a lot of that has to do with their focus on SUVs and trucks. And so when you see Nissan really lagging behind everyone else, a big part of that is the consumer moving away from sedans and more towards larger cars with gas prices relatively low. The consumer's not that concerned about efficiency, plus there's been some really nice gains in those heavier trucks in terms of efficiency. And so what we see is the companies that have focused on making larger vehicles, whether they're trucks or SUVs, have really outperformed. And we continue to see strength in the consumer in general. As we head into these winter months, there's really not much slowdown in terms of people talking about buying these big ticket items.
Andy, you got a lot of good data points to chew on when you talk about auto sales at the end of this year, right? You've got dealers discounting, you've got consumer spending rising, and those two things have to meet at the end of the year. You just see it, and you've got a world with low gas prices. People have better jobs and higher wages. This is the year that people look like they're starting to upgrade their car, right? That length of ownership and things like that. And your data shows that people are getting in there and buying new cars, durable goods. Autos are considered durable goods. It's one of the factors, and your data is showing that this is, the U.S. consumer is alive and well and buying durable goods.
Yeah, I think if an auto company is not doing well right now, it's a really bad sign for the future. Like you said, you've got low interest rates, you got gas prices relatively low, a really tight labor market, and quite frankly, a really hot consumer. And so all of those things should be adding up for these companies. I think the ones that have focused on purely sedans, like Nissan, are the ones that are going to struggle the most because that the consumer behavior has shifted there towards larger vehicles, and those that are ahead of the curve. I mean, Ford just announced not that long ago that they're going to completely move away from making any sedans. They're going to focus 100% on SUVs and trucks, and there's good reason for that. That's where the consumer is going.
And Andy, you're exactly right, because we saw that struggling out of Nissan and the numbers that they just reported. But I want to introduce this tweet, which is really talking about consumer behavior as far as if you live in a city or a suburb, which we always like to bring into the conversation here, being based out of Chicago. But this tweet from Nathan says, "I don't envy the crazy rent my friends in the city have to pay, but man, I know they don't envy the crazy car payments I have to pay in the suburbs." This is a cute, lighthearted tweet, but I mean, it's a true point, right? I mean, are more people buying fewer cars because of where they're living right now, or do you see that in your data at all?
Well, I think it really speaks to the trend of sedans going out of style. So the urban driver would be more of a small car type of driver, whereas suburban or rural would be large trucks and SUVs, and that's definitely where the market's moving. So I think there is something to this. I think that the cities are basically turning themselves over to the ride-sharing type of companies and those sedans. But overall, I think what's happening is this massive shift in consumer behavior is not just urban, it's not just rural, suburban. Really what it comes down to is people are more comfortable with their financial future than they have been. They're more comfortable with gas prices, and loan rates are relatively low. And so when all of those things come into play, it's pretty easy to make a commitment to a very large purchase like a vehicle, at least easier than it was 3-5 years ago.
That's a great point, Andy. And another conversation that's really coming into these vehicle sales is the emergence of electric vehicles, right? In fact, in Toyota's report, we saw that the sale of hybrid vehicles were up more than 60%, I want to say. But I have this next tweet that sort of ties that discussion in as well. It says, I have the feeling that Toyota, GM, Ford, FCA, Nissan, they're all running back to their design studios. And they hashtag Tesla on here after that Cybertruck display. So I'm wondering, will Tesla's influence have much of an impact on these names?
Well, I think it has to. I mean, what we saw in our data was a massive spike in, of course, conversation. There's a lot of controversy around the design of the Tesla truck prototype. A lot of that conversation tagged other automakers in both positive and negative ways. You got to give Elon Musk credit. He created a conversation. He made a product that doesn't exist yet the focus of an entire industry for a week. And he raised, what was it? Something like $16 million overnight in $100 deposits to be first in line to buy this thing in a few years if it ever comes out. So pretty genius move. You got to give credit to the showman where credit is due.
Super quick, Andy, on Tesla. Do you see them as kind of inversely correlated to the legacy players? Or do you see this industry as Tesla's a part of it, or are they all up on their own?
No, we see them off on their own. They certainly benefit from the rising tide and from low interest rates and that sort of thing. But they are definitely a separate animal. And I know a lot of people are wondering. Our data on Tesla very, very strong as well.
And then as we wrap this all up here, I just want to clarify: Toyota is going to include all brands under Toyota, GM all brands under GM, like Lexus under Toyota, correct?
Yes, that's right. It's all brands and products. When we show those charts, it's everything under the company. Yep.
And then, real quick before I let you go, is there one that you like the most in this space? Do you like all of them kind of collectively, or do you see a clear loser, or what's your real feel on that?
I think the clear losers probably like the Nissans, like we talked about. I think that Ford is probably a long-term winner. I really like their focus and execution. Also, I think Tesla, if you're looking for a binary bet, Tesla's the binary bet. Who knows what the financials will show in 2020, but when a company's trying to take over the world, they're either Amazon or they're Enron, and we'll find out in about 5 years.
Well said, Andy. I think this was a great conversation. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see how it all plays out over the next years to come.
Cool, thank you.
Alrighty, thanks to you as well, Evelyn.